I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. This is Monday, October 1st. Sorry for the cramped quarters tonight. I appreciate the bravery of the people that sat up front up here. I know it's a difficult thing to do. We got some water issues in the basement, which led to some HVAC situations too. So that's why we're in here. I want to go to the agenda right away here and take number 14, the closed session, off the agenda tonight. We will not be having a closed session tonight. I'll ask for the roll call, please.
Cedar.
Here.
Ellery.
Here.
Kinsbach.
Here.
Kleeman.
Here.
Kupa.
Here.
Laporte.
Here.
McCartney.
Here.
All present, Your Honor.
Thank you. If you have any questions or business with us tonight, come up to this microphone here so you can be taped on Channel 6 for Mr. Dingaman. Give us your name and address and tell us what's on your mind. Number 4 is the City Council minutes of September 17th, 2018, regular and closed meeting. Recommendation approved.
Make a motion we approve this. Read. Support.
The motion made, support. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's go to number 5, presentations. Tonight we are very, very fortunate. We've got some wonderful young people in here tonight. We have our 2018 girls junior state champs and regional runners-up. We have our 2018 boys junior state champs. What I'd like to do, if you folks are okay with this, is we'll start with the young ladies. And I have the coaches, Aaron Gottler, Danny Borg, and Chris Russell, if you guys want to come up and get to this microphone and then introduce your team. And we'll have the team come up and the coaches stand back here, maybe do a little folder opportunity for you. Tell us about your season. Tell us about these girls.
So we're the St. Clair Little League 14U, also known as Girls Junior Softball, state champions. And we went to regionals outside of Chicago. We have a 9-state region, and we went undefeated. Undefeated at states, and we lost in the finals against Ohio. So we were second place runner-up in the regional. And that's as far as anybody's ever gone in St. Clair Little League, and it's the first girls state championship in the history of the league. So pretty big accomplishment.
That's great. Who's your 2 coaches here?
Yep, so I'm Aaron Gottler, and we're all co-coaches. This is Danny Borg and Chris Russell. We do have daughters on the team, and we've basically coached them since they were 7, 8, 9 years old. So.
Awesome. This is wonderful. You introduce us to these young people here?
Yeah, from left to right, we have Emma Schindler, Julia Schweihofer, Megan Postma, Kylie Russell, Sky Gottler, Avery Paul, Samantha Furlan, Lainey Pavlov, Claire Borg, Olivia Goodnow, and Savannah Clark.
Oh, that's wonderful. Who's the number 1 man? You got it?
I'll be today.
All right, let me read this proclamation to everybody. So, this special acknowledgement is presented to the 2018 Junior Girls Little League state champs and regional runners-up. This recognition is given by the City of St. Clair in the true spirit of community pride for their community and personal achievements. Dated October 1st, 2018, Bill Cedar Jr. Congratulations. Let's let these guys get some pictures.
Aaron, where's his trophies?
All right, thank you. Thank you. Go back upstairs. Thank you for your hard work, girls, gentlemen. City's proud of you. We really are. It's amazing what you did. Now, we got our boys over here, the junior state champs. I've got coaches Adam Pennywell, Brendan Marino, Buddy Brodsky, Jamie Hassan, Denny White. Any of you guys here? Want to come up here? Fellas, want to come up here behind us? And
this is quite an accomplishment to have two 14-year-old teams be state champions at the same time. This is only the second time in the history of St. Clair Little League that there was a state champion, and yet there were two at the same time. We started off inauspiciously in the district at Richmond. We lost the first game. It's a double elimination tournament. And then we won the rest, so we won the district. We played the sectionals at St. Clair, and mercied the team that we played. You had to win 2 out of 3. And then they went to Petoskey and won the state title. The outstanding effort. My name is Denny White. I would be remiss if I did not say the majority of the work was done by Buddy Brodsky and Brendan Marino and Adam Pennywell. I was not able to be there for much of the tournament, but I was with them in spirit. So if I can introduce them now. Don Bacon, Bo Becker, Dean LeDuc, Jacob Turner, Sam Vitale, Chris Piperzak, Kai Pennywell, Brendan Cole, Jared Cramp, Denny Saligan, Maddox Moselle.
congratulations.
Somebody strong enough, they can pick that trophy up.
All right, so this special acknowledgement is presented to the 2018 Junior Boys Little League State Champs. This recognition is given by the City of St. Clair in the true spirit of community pride for their community and personal achievements. Dated this day, October 1st. Listen to Junior Coach. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks again to all you young people. Keep it up. Keep up the hard work. Stay in school. All you parents, I know what it is. You got to drive everywhere. You're picking people up left and right. Keep up the good work. Now, the good news is this. If you would like to stay for the rest of the meeting, you are more than welcome. If you would like to exit at this time, we're going to let you do that. And we're going to thank you again for all your hard work and your accomplishments. All right, thank you. Public hearing number 6, we have a public hearing for commercial facilities tax exemption on the vine. Mr. Casey.
Mr. Mayor,
officially reopen the meeting, sorry about that.
Oh, okay. Now we're open? Good. Mr. Mayor, members of council, it's good to be back in front of you tonight. My name is Dan Casey with the Economic Development Alliance. The owners of the St. Clair Inn were unable to make it tonight. As you know, they're located in California, so they just weren't able to be here tonight due to business. They asked me if I could step in and represent them tonight on the tax abatement application. So the last time that I was here for the first tax abatement on the St. Clair Inn, I said that there were anticipated to be 3 total applications related to this project. As you know, it's a big project, it's complicated, a lot of investment, and creating a lot of jobs. So tonight I'm here for the second request. And again, this is under the redevelopment, or the Commercial Redevelopment Act under the state of Michigan. It provides for abatements for new construction, rehabilitation of buildings, and restoration. Tonight's request is for the construction of a new 13,000 square foot building across from the St. Clair Inn. The site's already been cleared and prepped. This would result in a total investment of about $7.4 million. Of that portion, about $4 million will relate directly to the building, the parking lot, the sidewalk, and so forth, so preparing the site. In addition, I think previously I mentioned that there are 120 new jobs associated with the St. Clair Inn project in total. At this time, the company hasn't decided how many of those jobs will be relocated into the new construction. However, they are going to be putting their executive offices there. They're going to have a gift shop, and they're also going to have a workout facility for the guests of the inn located in this building. So those operations will all be staffed by St. Clair Inn employees. In addition to that, they're going to have retail space in the building that will be for lease to tenants, and their preference is to identify tenants who are going to be supporting the wedding business, although I'm sure they'll take anybody. But that's their objective. With that, I don't really have much more to add tonight unless you have some specific questions. Again, I'm not one of the owners, so I would do the best I could to answer their questions tonight. Hopefully you don't have many.
50% for 12 years?
50% for 12 years.
Dan, one question on this attachment B, and I don't know if you have this in front of you. It's showing $265,000 for a spa tub.
Correct.
Okay, and that's going on the west side of this road?
That's correct.
Okay, so this has
That's
nothing,
part of the
this has
workout
nothing to,
facility.
okay.
It's part of the workout
Okay.
facility.
The 200 jobs, construction jobs, that's solely on the west side?
No, it's 120 total jobs for the St. Clair Inn project, which includes positions that will be working out of this
I'm talking
new.
construction jobs, you're saying 200?
Oh, yes, that's what the owners indicated.
On the west side, on top of what's on the other side.
No, for the entirety of the project.
All right, and this is gonna be done June 30th of next year?
July 1, that's the target date, yes.
All right, and this pertains to 2 lots, this application.
No, it actually includes more than that because of some of the parking lot.
I was told 2 lots this morning when I talked to the assessor.
The building itself, that would be correct, but
At 511, that's the way she explained it to me. The application states 2 lots.
the building will sit on 2 of the parcels, correct? But the parking lot will connect the other building where the coffee shop is.
Different
gonna be.
lots. The
That's
parking lots
correct.
are separate lots. Well,
Correct.
Your Honor, I talked to the assessor, and she told me this pertains to 2 lots, 507 and 511. So I asked her about the other lots, and she told me, no, not on this application.
Again,
I'm just saying, that's what the assessor told me.
right, I understand.
And
The
I wanna know
buildings are
what
going to
I'm
sit on 2 parcels,
Well,
but some of the parking lot will cover the other 2
Exactly what
parcels.
I asked her. She said, Mr. Clayman, right here in the application, it says 507 and 511. She told me she received the application for 2 lots. Now, what am I voting on? 4, 5, 2 lots? I come in and talked to her, so, and she said she couldn't be here, so.
All of
I'd like
those
some
lots are
clarification.
covered under the same,
I understand that.
ID.
When I talked to the clerk, or not the clerk, excuse me, the assessor, she told me 2 lots. So my question is, Blue's right, what is it?
Well, I think I indicated the building is gonna sit on the two parcels.
I understand it.
That's the piece that's gonna be
And I asked her
taxed.
about the parking lots, and she said no.
Okay, well, I can't answer her, or I can't comment on what she said, but
I'd like an answer from the assessor again on what we're doing here.
So is your question, does the abatement include the parking lot?
That's exactly what I
and the
asked.
two parcels?
You were there, I asked the clerk, or the assessor today when I was in there, and she told me, no, it's the two lots that are on the application, 507 and 511.
And they want a tax exemption on the 5 lots?
no, the tax abatement is on the building.
It's on the
It
two
sits
lots,
on
it's
two
right
lots.
there.
It's on the
Got 507
building.
and 511 North Riverside.
It sits on two lots.
That's what they're asking for an abatement
You
on.
just stated they wanted 4 lots, the parking lot.
What I said is a small part of the investment involves a parking
Parking lot
areas.
sits on a different
Right,
parcel. She was
the
telling me.
abatement is covering the building,
So we're only talking 2 lots here,
Yeah.
correct,
not the parking lot.
that's correct.
Okay,
The abatement doesn't apply to the parking lots anyway, it only applies to the building.
so we're talking 2 parcels here.
507 and 511.
That's exactly what I'm trying to get, I was told no, just a minute ago. So that's what we're talking about, 2 lots.
Correct.
All right.
What's on the front of the app?
Yeah, that's why I questioned it today when I talked to her. And I was just told it includes the lots for the parking lot.
Anything else?
This is
Thank
a
you.
public hearing. Does anyone in the public have any questions about it?
Mr. Dingman's benefit. Scott Atkins, 717 Witherell Street. I just have a quick question for clarification. Is this commercial rehab abatement under PA 210?
No, it's 255.
Okay.
It's commercial rehab.
I thought you said rehab, so that's what I wanted to check. Okay, that's all I want to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Make a motion to close the public hearing, Your Honor.
Support.
All right, motion made to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Close the public hearing, go back into the regular meeting. Number 7 is ordinances resolution. Resolution 1870, commercial facilities tax exemption on the Vine LLC.
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll support.
All right, the motion's made and supported. Is there any questions? Call the roll, please.
Ellery,
Yes.
Kinsfater.
Yes.
Kleeman,
Yes.
Koopa.
Yes.
Report,
Yes.
McCartney.
Yes.
Cedar,
Yes,
carried, Your Honor.
thank you. For number 8, reports administration, Mr. Booth.
Nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Have we done a final punch list on Brown and Ray?
Mr. Beef? Final punch list on Brown, no.
It's not done, no.
It looks like it turned out pretty good. The draining looks good today. There was draining?
There's some concerns about a bulk coming south, so I told them that had to go on the punch list. And there was a couple of small items, there's a piece of curb that cracked that they're gonna have to repair, but there's really not much.
Right. Mr. Downey's not here this evening. Any city departments? D is authorities, boards, and commissions. Anybody? We have no unfinished business. Let's go to number 10, new business. A, special events permit, Christmas carriage rides and Santa special event. Chief?
Wellington Financial Group and Coughlin Jewelers have submitted paperwork for a carriage ride to visit Santa on November 24th, so there's no road changes. The company they got, the horses and carriages that can go on the road, they're gonna take them around to Coughlin, see Santa, and have a day of it, so I recommend we approve that one.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? B, special event permit, American Cancer Society, Bark in the Park. Chief?
Park in the Park, June 1st, they've requested, have all their paperwork, it's all in order. It's gonna be a day of games and fun and food to raise money for the Cancer Society, so.
Make a motion to approve.
Support.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Go to C, proposal for 2018-19 property and liability insurance renewal. We have Brian from the MML. How you doing?
Hi, I'm Brian Steckroth on behalf of the property and liability, MML Property and Liability Pool. The city of St. Clair has been a member of the MML Property and Liability Pool since 1995. We appreciate your long-term 23-year membership. The MML pool is a nonprofit member-owned pool, so any excess surplus is returned to the members in the form of a dividend. It's a post-renewal dividend, so once you renew and pay your premium, they cut the check for your dividend. Actually, since 2011, the city of St. Clair has received just under $92,000 in dividend from the MML Property and Liability Pool. The Property and Liability Pool is governed by your peers, so other municipal officials around the state, so other mayors, city managers, council people, things like that. It also, it's coverage that fits your needs, so it's tailored specifically to municipalities. So it's one policy that has the police liability, the legal liability for the council, your employment practices, the general liability, your auto, crime, everything is all in one.
Any questions for Brian?
Yeah, I do have a question, Brian. On the policy here, it shows that we're covered for $2 million for earth movement. What is earth movement?
Earthquake coverage.
Say again?
Earthquake coverage. Yeah, it's earthquake
I
coverage.
think I ask that every time this comes up.
They don't, it doesn't necessarily have to be an earthquake. I had a member in Lenawee County at one time where there was a quarry not far from them. And because of constant blasting, there was damage done to their foundation. So that paid for it because it was earth movement because of the blasting.
Would sinkholes be?
Sinkholes are excluded.
They're not included?
No,
They're excluded, right?
never went through.
Yeah, I still gotta ask every year.
Change their mind.
Yeah, you never know.
I don't ask that anymore.
Anything else for Brian? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll support the motion. Support.
Any other questions? Call the roll, please.
Kinsfater?
Yes.
Kleeman? Yes. Hoopa?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
McCartney?
Yes.
Ellery?
Yes.
Cedar?
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
Thank you. Let's go to D, modification of 2018 HMN resurfacing project contract. Mr. Pangori here tonight.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here tonight regarding two contract modifications, both related to sewer repair work needed on 3rd Street and Henry, both streets that are under construction. A little bit of history for both of those situations. If you recall, back in 2007, the city had all of the sanitary sewers within the city cleaned and televised. When Mr. Booth indicated that work was going to be done this year on Henry and 3rd, actually on all the streets, he asked us to take a look at the results of the sewer cleaning that was done in 2007 and check the condition of those sewers. There were some recommendations that we made for some lining work and excavation repairs. That project was bid out and was awarded by City Council for about $145,000. Prior to starting the work, the DPW was able to make one excavation repair on Henry with their own crew. That saved about $31,000 out of that initial contract that was included in that work. With that savings, City Superintendent Booth suggested that maybe we should take a look at these two sewer lines on Henry and 3rd again, because it's been over 10 years since they were looked at last. We agreed, we thought it was a good idea. About $11,000 of that $31,000 savings was used to clean and televise the sewer lines. As a result, we identified 3 additional excavation repairs on Henry, 3 additional excavation repairs on 3rd Street, which is the item that we're referring to now. The DPW was too busy to make those repairs themselves. We asked the street contractor working on Henry Street if he would be willing to do the repairs. He agreed that he would and provided us with a price for that. We thought the prices were very reasonable, and we're recommending that contract mod number 1 for the street project be awarded for the excavation repairs, or be approved for the excavation repairs on Henry and 3rd.
And that, the money's coming out of the sewer fund, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll support the motion.
All right, the motion is made, support, any questions? Call the roll, please.
Kleeman? Koofa?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
McCartney?
Yes.
Ellery?
Yes.
Kinsfather?
Yes.
Cedar?
Yes.
Carrie John.
Thank you. All right, we'll go to the modification 2018 sewer repair program contract.
Okay, and then to continue that discussion out of the re-televising of the sewers on those two streets, we did also identify some additional lining work that were recommended be done. And that's what contract mod number 2 is for the lining contractor. And again, we're recommending both, all of that work is done underneath Henry Street and underneath Third Street. And with the road construction going on, we're recommending that additional work also be approved.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Support.
Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Koofa?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
McCartney?
Yes.
Ellery?
Yes.
Kinsfather?
Yes.
Kleeman? Cedar?
Yes.
Carrie John.
Thank you.
Steve. And we'll go to F. Approve St. Clair Landscaping and Irrigation Service Contract, Pine Shores Golf Course. Steve?
Good evening. I'm here to ask for council's approval for some repairs to the Pine Shores Golf Course irrigation system. Low bidder was St. Clair Irrigation, and I'd like council's approval to go ahead with the project.
I'll make a motion to approve St. Clair irrigation for $41,570.64.
I support it.
All right, motion made, support, questions?
I got one. Were these bids sealed?
No,
How did your bid process work?
pardon?
How did it work, the bid process?
The contractors that I approached, they didn't want to bid materials. They just wanted to bid labor, which I thought was kind of odd. So it took me quite a long time to collect all this stuff up. So I've been almost a year collecting up material lists and labor bids and that. So they weren't sealed.
So these numbers are strictly labor?
There's numbers for labor, and then there's a number for material also. I'm not sure how
So
Blake.
is the 41,000 just labor?
No,
That's labor and material?
St. Clair Nurseries was labor and material, but they were the only ones.
Okay.
Everyone else separated it and did not. They didn't want to put a hard number to it, because they were afraid, well, I'll run into this, and then I'll need more of that, so they wanted to leave it open-ended, and I didn't want to leave it open-ended, I wanted a hard number. So I ended up bidding it out for material and for labor, so we had a hard number. But St. Clair Irrigation didn't have a problem with it, they put it all together.
And also, Bob, wasn't it an issue that some of these companies were bidding this with, as an if-come, that if they could get a few other jobs in the area, they would
Correct.
come up here, because a lot of these companies aren't from around here, and it's not
Correct.
something that just everybody's gonna do at a golf course.
We had a couple of them, were gonna bid the job, then they backed out because they didn't get a job somewhere else, and it was really tough finding a qualified person.
Is this work recommended and approved by the Golf Course Commission?
Yes.
Yes.
Good, that's all I need.
Any other questions? Call the roll, please.
Laporte?
Yes.
McCartney?
Yes.
Ellery?
Yes.
Kinsfather?
Yes.
Kleeman?
Yes.
Koofa?
Yes.
Cedar?
Yes.
Carrie John.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go to G, Boathouse lot lease transfer, 1203 South Fifth Street. Matt?
Yes, the request to council to transfer the lease of the city-owned boathouse area property along the Pine River for 1203 South Fifth. The sale notification process was followed per the ordinance, and it is recommended for council to approve the lot lease transfer from Bonnie to Harder for 1203 South Fifth Street.
I'd make a motion to approve the lease.
Support?
Any questions? Call the roll, please.
McCartney?
Yes.
Ellery?
Yes.
Kinsfather?
Yes.
Lehman, Krupa,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
carried, Your Honor. Thank you.
Number 11 is claims of the council, September 20th and 27th, 2018.
There are no questions, Your Honor. I make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion is made and supported. Any questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Go to number 12, public questions and public comment. Anybody have anything tonight for the good of the cause?
Good evening.
Good night.
My name is Fred Hayes from 709 Clinton Street. Back at the meeting where the spot zoning for 602 South 8th was turned down, there was a get-together with Mr. Bowyer, and the house was looked over again to make sure all the requirements were met. And at that time, Mr. Bowyer had two stipulations for Mr. Rude. One, that the deed be in his name, and that Mr. Rude change his voting address to 602 South 8th. Number one, I'd like to know, and then Mr. Bowyer said after that was done, that the home occupation business license would be issued for Mr. Rude to open his barber shop. One of my questions is, what kind of authority does Mr. Bowyer have to be able to make these stipulations and not have to come back to you, the city council, after you've already voted it down and said no spot variance? Mr. Rude is not living there. One of the other things that has come up, he's painted parking spaces there, but there's no designation for handicap whatsoever. He's got 4 painted parking spots there, and he has at least one tenant still living upstairs. And if that tenant is allowed 2 parking spaces, that only leaves 2 other ones that are designated there right now. The people who are living there on the weekends are parking down the street so that the barber shop can run and people can park their cars. My big question is how Mr. Bowyer can come up with these stipulations and not have to come back to the council and have the council make an approval. I just don't understand this. If this is gonna happen with the St. Clair Inn coming online somewhere down the road, what's gonna stop somebody else from moving into town, buying a home in a residential area, and then coming and doing what Mr. Rude just did, live in the Highlands, but have his barber shop down on a residential area? We already have parking problems on 8th Street, and I just don't understand where this is coming from. I mean, if we're paying for a planning commission attorney to tell us that, no, this isn't a good idea, he goes and talks with Mr. Downey, and they agree this isn't a good idea. The board votes 5-2, it's not a good idea, but yet here's Mr. Bowyer, who's obviously got the trump card. He just sits out there and does nothing but wait, and then he says, oh, he can have a spot variance or whatever you want to call it, the home occupation rule, and he's not living there. So I'm hoping that we get some kind of, or I get anyways, as one of the taxpayers of the city of St. Clair, some kind of answers here. I mean, if, really, the way I hate to look at this is that we jumped through all the hoops. We went through the planning commission, we went to the council, we did everything, and then all of a sudden, this guy sitting out here, Mr. Bowyer, says, hey, yeah, you can have it, but you can go live up where you want. What, I mean, I just don't understand it. Mr. McCartney, one of the very first planning meetings, was worried about a lawsuit from a previous home occupation type thing, and he wanted to talk to the attorney then. Well, you know, I mean, I'm sorry, but this isn't right. I mean, we've got people parking already in the Meredith tax place. She's not aware of it. She's going to be aware of it tomorrow, I can guarantee you that. But she doesn't want people from the barbershop parking in her parking area. So I just like to have some kind of answers on why he's allowed to do this when other people have been turned down. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes.
Wait a minute, Fred. Have you asked for your answer?
Yeah.
So what's the answer?
I think we should bring D.
Well, I think it goes deeper than that. I mean, D can't just make an arbitrary decision without administration behind that.
That's right.
This council voted that down. That home and that property was altered away from the makeup of that neighborhood That's why it was voted down. That's why planning recommended it doesn't get approved. And he's running a business there. And I
He is.
agree with you, Fred. I'm a little disappointed myself.
So am I.
So Fred, here's my take on it, and I'm not a lawyer, but planning commission turned it down, we turned it down.
Right.
Now he comes in and he goes to the building department, who goes through the zoning book and says, here's the home business, here's what the criteria.
I
You have to
understand
meet
that.
these criteria. And my understanding is that Dee Boyer is gonna monitor the situation down there to make sure that all those criteria are being met. And when they're not, or if they're not, I should say, then that's when his power to pull the plug occurs. That's my understanding.
Okay, but I've gone through the ordinance that I could get off the internet, and I don't see anything there which says that Mr. Boyer has the authority to grant these stipulations and then continue on with this business. I don't see it. If I'm missing it it's not on the internet.
Okay.
That's where I'm coming from.
That is gonna be a legal question we'll have to have answered by an attorney, yes.
Yep. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anybody else?
Jeff Rosen Traders, 609 South 8th Street. Just to elaborate a little more on what Fred said, I did miss the last city council meeting, so there was a couple points that I wanted to bring up at that time. First development since then was the adding of the 3-foot barber pole that's on the front of the house. Somehow Mr. Bullier said he wasn't aware that it lit up and spun and does all this stuff, but I honestly saw him the night before the last planning commission meeting, DJ Bullier, at the house doing the inspections with him, and then the very next day told me, excuse me, that he wasn't aware that it lit up and spun. So that's one thing. They said they were gonna go back, research it, they'd have some more information for the next meeting. Second, I can't say that those painted parking lines on the driveway is really aesthetically pleasing in a neighborhood situation. Doesn't look very residential to me. Big issue that I had brought up from the very beginning was the problem that parking was gonna create. And we've had issues in the past, even when there was just tenants living there. If we had cars parked in the street, people might be backing out, hitting our vehicles. Sure enough, my niece and nephew are staying with us, and my nephew has a car that he's had less than a week. And sometime on Saturday, parked in front of our house, has a huge dent about that big over the fender that was exposed closest to that property. So now he didn't have the money for full coverage, so it's just PLPD. So I get to help him get that fixed. And I'm gonna have to invest in security cameras because I don't know how more often our vehicles are gonna be damaged in the front of our house. And if these people aren't gonna take responsibility and just drive away, I have to be able to, track them. So there's another cost that is gonna be on me for this situation. So I was the one that brought up to Fred that I've noticed all the tenants still live there, but they never park there. So I don't know if it's a deal that they've got worked out, if he offered them something or said, hey, if you still wanna live here, you can't park here, but we could go right now and I can show you where they're parking. It's not hard to figure out, it's 2 streets down on a side street. I see them walking in the rain to and from their cars to go into the house with their laundry and things like that. So for all the things for home occupation, he doesn't live there. I've never really heard of using a voter registration as proof of residency. I usually just pull out my driver's license if I have to show someone where I live. So, it's all these little loopholes that the building inspector has allowed him to get around, and I'm sure he's coaching them because the elder Rude, right from the very first thing he did on that house when he was replacing the steps, and I went over there and just played dumb and tried to figure out what was going on. He said right away he already knew it was gonna work out. And he was already working with the building inspector. So it's been a done deal from a long time. And, for everyone that voted against the variance, what I can't figure out is by not getting the variance, what was he not allowed to do versus what he actually did? Because I don't think there's any difference. So I don't even know why he even wasted his time going for the variance in the first place. He could have been open for a couple months under home occupation, so.
The only difference would be, just to answer that question, is if he gets the variance, he doesn't need to meet those requirements for home business.
Right.
That's the
But-
only difference, yeah.
He's not meeting any of those requirements anyway, so like I said, it's really no different.
So,
You know?
thanks.
Yep.
Thank you.
And just one other thing, and I think I mentioned it once before, but, you know, obviously, there's nothing that could be done with those windows, even though that was a little shady of a process, getting those big display windows in, but when that neighborhood is flooded with fluorescent light, when it's dark out, is also definitely not aesthetically pleasing in a neighborhood situation. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Fred, Jeff.
2 months in a row. Hello again, Council. Mayor Scott Atkins, 717 Witherell Street. Quick question on the item you approved this evening for Pine Shores Golf Course. Doesn't appear that it was necessarily a budgeted item. Is that going to be an amended item? Maybe this question, Your Honor, for Mr.
Yep.
Booth.
For a proprietary fund?
Correct. I mean, I know the situation in the past with finances, so I was just asking.
Yeah, there's funds that are available.
That was number one. Number two, and I appreciate Mr. Booth answering my question last week about capital improvement planning, or last month. You did answer on the roads, but I guess maybe I didn't either ask my question right, or I didn't have it come across. Does the city have a specific capital improvement plan as required by the Planning Enabling Act that the Planning Commission usually does, that the council adopts? I couldn't find it online. I'm wondering if you do have one, and if it's available for viewing from the clerk's office potentially.
I'll be happy to share what I have.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks. And on that, I've got an item I'll talk to you after the websites too.
Anybody else?
Thanks for the credit on our water bills.
Thank you for thanking us.
Good deal, last pay, in water. We noticed.
All right, then I'm gonna go to number 13, Mayor and Council comments. I have a couple quick things. Dan Lockwood whistles on the water. Kids in Distress had a successful night. Elaine's chili cook-off was a success. Am I missing anything?
Kids in Distress fundraiser was very successful. My first time attending, it was a nice crowd, and I'm very pleased that I went. And they raised a lot of money to help a lot of children.
I don't think so. Did you say anything about whistles on the water?
Yeah.
St. Mary's.
St. Mary's, I think they had a rough weekend, but it's always a great event. I talked to Billy Westrick yesterday, and I'm gonna help him out next year to see if we can figure out some things. Maybe I'll get his dad involved.
All the time.
The first time I've ever heard, you don't have nothing to say about that? Okay, good. All right.
Hey, anything on Smoothie Oil?
That was to be our closed session for this evening, but coming soon.
Anybody else?
I do, Your Honor. I think, getting back to the serious question at hand here, I think the residents of 8th Street along Clinton Avenue deserve an answer. I think they deserve an honest answer from administration and council, given the issues that are at hand with the detailed explanation that the planner gave to the Planning Commission. Mr. Laporte was involved in that, of the criteria to have a home business, the things that you can't do when you want to have a home business. You can't alter the home, you can't do things like has already been done there. And those were all the reasons why planning turned it down, and then ultimately council rejected it. And then to have that business open after these steps have been taken, it baffles me, and I'm a little bit upset by it. You people deserve an answer. You deserve an honest answer. And I'm gonna make sure you get it.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Nothing else, Charlie, make motion to adjourn.
Support.